So before we dive into the presentations, just a little bit of housekeeping. This meeting is being recorded, and by being here, you do agree to be recorded. This recording will be available on our website in a few days. If you have any questions, again, please drop them in the chat. If your question is for a specific person or project, please make note of that as well so we can direct those accordingly at the end during the Q&A portion. We will have the presenters answer after all 4 of the presentations are completed. Lastly, we are developing an FAQ document on this grant program, and that will be available on the Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program website after this meeting. Our presentation today will start with an overview of the DEP's Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program from Anthony Bavacqua, our Bureau Chief of Climate Change and Clean Energy here at the department. Then we will hear from Matt from Stafford Township about the Blue Carbon Restoration Project at Popular Point. Next, we're going to hear from Shane from the American Littoral Society about their Blue Carbon Restoration Project at the Maurice River. Following that, we will hear from Rob from Readington Township about the Green Carbon Meadow Afforestation Project. And after that, we're going to hear from Jay from the New Jersey Conservation Foundation about the Green Carbon or Urban Forestry Project. We encourage attendees to ask questions in the chat, and once all 4 presenters have showcased their projects, we will open the floor for a Q&A. Now, I would like to hand it off to our Bureau Chief, Anthony Bavacqua.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We're happy to discuss our program with you. Funding for this grant program is made available through New Jersey's participation in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI. RGGI is a cooperative effort among states to reduce power sector greenhouse gas emissions, specifically large-scale grid supply fossil fuel generators. In this regional market-based cap and invest program, states participate through independent regulations based on common program objectives. Regulated entities such as power plant owners and operators comply with state rules by purchasing carbon dioxide allowances proportional to their emissions. States then strategically reinvest compliance proceeds in programs that further mitigate climate change and support ratepayers. Since rejoining this regional initiative in 2020, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Economic Development Authority, and Board of Public Utilities have funded nearly 400 individual projects totaling more than $200 million, with an estimated total carbon dioxide emissions avoided of over 600,000 metric tons and 36,000 tons sequestered over project lifetimes. The New Jersey Global Warming Response Act and Global Warming Solutions Fund Act authorizes the DEP to participate in the interstate RGGI program through the CO2 budget trading rule and develop strategic funding initiatives with our partner agencies through the Global Warming Solutions Fund rule and subsequent iterative strategic funding plans. Strategic funding plan initiatives include accelerating healthy homes and building decarbonization, catalyze clean, equitable transportation, strengthen New Jersey's forests, promote blue carbon sequestration in coastal habitats, and increase rates of clean energy adoption and workforce development through the New Jersey Green Bank. Following the RGGI Strategic Funding Plan's direction, the objective of the Natural Climate Solutions Grant Program is to support the implementation of on-the-ground projects that bolster New Jersey's natural carbon sinks while simultaneously adding value through co-benefits targeting environmental quality, ecosystem services, and local communities. Project configurations applicable to this initial funding round of the program include living shorelines that address the loss of vegetated shorelines, beaches, and coastal habitats, restoring flows in tidal wetlands that focus on increasing salinity to decrease methane and sedimentation, restoration of tidal salt marshes to increase cover of native vegetation in brackish and saltwater wetlands, submerged aquatic vegetation restoration, forest restoration projects that establish or reestablish forest communities and carbon sequestration trajectories with native vegetation in degraded forests, former agricultural fields, or other deforested areas. And finally, urban forest canopy and water quality enhancement. Being the first of its kind from our department, this grant program was launched in 2022 and awarded a total of $24.3 million, supporting 14 individual blue and green carbon sequestration projects throughout the state, with a total estimated lifetime carbon sequestration of 33,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent. As illustrated in this graphic, the program provided funding to a diverse portfolio of projects throughout the state and served to support partnerships among many organizations spanning local governments, private firms, and both conservation and community organizations. We have found that New Jersey is an ideal setting for this type of climate mitigation strategy, as we are home to productive natural systems and motivated communities and organizations that can deliver successful projects while bringing together people and additional funding support. This is captured by the 41 engaged partners we have had the pleasure of collaborating with, and also the amount of external funding they bring to the table to nearly double financial resources from RGGI-derived funds alone, making our program a catalyst for bigger and more impactful projects, something we are really proud of. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Anthony. Now we are ready to hear from our showcase speakers. First up is Stafford Township. Matt, I will hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. So my name is Matt Hayden. I'm the Township Administrator and Director of Sewer at Stafford Township. We started along this journey back in 2019. That's when I started as the Administrator and Director. And we started to work on a lagoon study. I have a background of working in other municipalities that have done projects like this. So we started with that base. I think, Jennifer, you could go to the next slide. That'd be great. So our project came out of a lagoon study that we started back in 2019 and 2020. We were able to get a township-wide permit for dredging of the lagoons in our Beach Haven West area, which is just north of the map that you see. But in that process, and one of the things that I will highlight is what we've tried to focus on, is you have to have good plans in place, but you also have to have good partners. So the perfect example is DEP has been an awesome partner with us. We worked on them with Resilient Stafford. And we're fortunate enough by identifying and coming up with plans to be able to utilize work that we had done through our lagoon study, which identified about 800,000 cubic yards of material that are in the Beach Haven West lagoons. With that, once you identify the material and you get your permits with the DEP, with Army Corps, and you're able to look at that, partners start to form. So we started to reach out to our neighboring municipalities, Long Beach Island, our LBI communities. They were already working on a Resilient Stafford plan. When DEP saw that we were engaged and looking to do that, they invited us to the table to also participate in that. And we were able to develop that, but also able to develop projects with it. When this opportunity came up with the Nature Climate Solutions opportunity, we were ready to submit this grant, but the way we were able to do it was by having partners in place. So we're working with Forsyth Refuge, which is a federal entity. And you can see there's a lot of different partners that are involved in this. This is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the Forsyth Refuge. This is DEP. We have partners like Save Barnegat Bay Partnership. You're always looking, the neighboring municipalities that I mentioned, you're always looking to develop those partnerships, because anytime that you can connect different things that are going on with those organizations, whether it's water quality cleanup, whether it's restoration to, like our project is a shoreline restoration project, or whether it's connecting the benefits that you may get from working with those individuals, that they get something, you get something, and in the process, you're improving the environment. But the way I look at this project, it's a win-win project. It's really a win-win project, because Forsyth is going to be able to reestablish their wetlands areas that have been washed away over time. It provides a level of carbon sequestration that ties into the grant. You get the economic impact because, well, where would you rather live? Someone that's looking to provide resiliency measures, that's looking to preserve their environment, or a municipality that may not be looking at it. That's a benefit to the different people that are that are coming into your municipalities, and you need to be looking at that. That's almost a triple bottom line approach of, hey, this is how we're going to make a community more resilient. We're going to make it more environmentally friendly, but in the process, we're also going to make it more economically viable because you're looking at all the different aspects. So we try to take a step back through that resilient Stafford plan to be able to say, hey, this is all encompassing. We have to look at all the different variables. Next slide, please. So the project that we're in the process of doing is restoring the marsh edge of Popular Point. When I refer to Popular Point, that's the area, if you're looking on the map, where it's red, orange, and yellow. And in that area, we're going to basically rebuild that front edge of Popular Point. What's happened over time is that area has become washed out, whether it was through Hurricane Sandy, nor'easters, and over time, you can see, going back through the historical maps, that the area has washed away. So to be able to do this, the first step in our process when we were awarded the grant, we have a permit to dredge the lagoons in Beach Haven West, but we had to work with Forsyth to be able to obtain the permits needed to be able to build this project. Just recently, we were able to get the permits, and we're in the process where we're going to be able to bid this project in the coming months, with the hope that we're going to be able to have it done before the end of the year. So what this project would do, it would rebuild that sill. It's going to help dissipate wave energy should for the next nor'easter or for the next hurricane that comes along the coast. But in the process, you're rebuilding habitat. So, besides the wildlife that's out there, we've been doing a lot of work with our sewer system, so improving the water quality. Like I said, when you look at these projects, it has to be all encompassing. So we're tying all those different variables in as we're looking to try to make the township more resilient. Next slide, please. So how do we go about monitoring this? But to be able to get those Army Corps permits, the permits to be able to go on and rebuild that sill, there has to be survey work done. So we've been working with ACT engineers, and what they've done is they've gone out there and done survey work. They've done bathymetric surveys, and essentially what we're going to do is take those surveys and look at it over durations of time and with the tide cycles. So that data it's collected on a daily and monthly on when there's inundation, and then we'll go back and compare that as to what, once it's built, what the erosion rates are, and based off of how it's been designed, we're not expecting any. The percent coverage, you can see the different types of vegetation that would be done with the plantings. That's part of our project. So when we looked at this, ACT engineers went and they determined the type of vegetation that would go in. We also looked at, the different types of species that are out there. So the black rail and the salt marsh sparrow, to be able to go and say, hey, what's the environment that we're actually building for? And then at the end of the project, we'll do a post-construction surface elevation to be able to show those elevation rates. So essentially, we're going to compare the bathymetric data that was collected at the beginning along with what was done at the end, and then use that as our monitoring over the course of time to show how the project was built and what we expect to see with it. Next slide, please. So where we're at right now, like I mentioned, we just obtained the placement permits to be able to do this project. Right now, the first step of the project, our design and engineering contract was awarded about 2 months ago. So ACT Engineers is in the process of finishing that design. Our next step will be to work with DEP, our project managers, Tony Rowe. As I mentioned, DEP has been a great partner in this with our project manager, again, going back to building relationships. He's been, any information he needs, he requests it. We get it right back to him. And any guidance we need to make sure we're staying in compliance with the grant, we're sharing with him what we think is in compliance. And if there's any edits, we get them back in a timely basis. So right now we're developing the spec since we have the permit in hand to be able to go out and bid the project. We expect to be able to bid that, best case late July, but more likely early August. And then our goal is to start this project after Labor Day. Essentially, with this type of work, we want to be able to work around the summer season. So a lot of the Barrier Island communities Just like a road project, we typically don't do road projects unless it's emergency work in the summer months, just because of the amount of tourism and people that come to the area. Similar to this, our goal is to start it in the early fall. With our dredging permits, they're able to start right after July and into December. So the goal is to start it and be able to build this sill. Again, part of this is having those great partnerships. If we didn't have a working partner with DEP and Resilient Stafford, but then with this grant opportunity and also with Foresight, those partnerships are ideal to be able to drive this forward. Without those and without working partners to try to do good things. So having and building that network is really key to this. Next slide. So the lessons learned, like I said, partnerships are key. The other thing that you have to do is be ready for the opportunities. When available funding comes out, have your plans in place, have your, if you can have design and have engineering in place to be able to go and do projects that you've already vetted and that are good. When those opportunities are available, you should be looking for opportunities through DEP, through NIFWIP, through NOAA. Anything that comes up, you want to be ready to be able to submit that. So the more time you can put into developing plans, designs, permits up front, the better off you're going to be and position yourself to be able to get these opportunities. Next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Next up is the American Littoral Society. Shane, I will pass the mic to you now.
Fantastic. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shane Godshall. I work for the American Littoral Society. I'm the Habitat Restoration Project Manager for Delaware Bay projects that we have ongoing. The American Littoral Society, for those of you who don't know, is a coastal conservation nonprofit. It's been in existence since 1961 and works on education, advocacy, conservation, and restoration. We have our home office up on Sandy Hook National Recreation Area, and my office is down in Millville, and I work predominantly in Delaware Bay and have been doing so for the last 12 years. So I guess next slide. Yep. For our project, the key partners are Wildlife Restoration Partnerships, Stockton University Coastal Research Center, ACT Engineers, and South State Construction. The Wildlife Restoration Partnership, Stockton, and ACT have been longtime participants in habitat restoration projects with us since Hurricane Sandy, basically. And South State Construction has come on for this project specifically and has been a great partner since having involved them with the work. So go ahead next. So a little bit of what we're doing. We're working within the mouth of the Marsh River. And just to kind of orient this photo that you guys are looking at, to the top of the photo is the Delaware Bay. And then obviously we're coming in and to the right side of the photo is bivalve and the ports there and the docks and so forth. The yellow circle is a section of the river that's called Northwest Reach. And that's where we're going to be focusing our work. The red line below it is the Matt's Landing Dike. So just as a way of orientation there. The yellow section historically had been all low marsh, and then in 100 years ago it was diked out and farmed, and it spent a number of decades being farmed. And when you dike off and farm marsh, you end up losing some elevation due to drying out of the subsoil. The peat and so forth decomposes a bit, and then you don't have the accumulation of biomass over time. So the historic land use of there created a situation where without the dikes, it was naturally lower elevation than what would have been otherwise. But over the years, farming the dike became less profitable, and those lands were sold off, and the dikes were let go over time. And through that process, we ended up seeing a lot of erosion. So in the last, 5, 6, 7 decades, we lost essentially 400 acres of low marsh right in that yellow section there. That whole section is a little over 400 acres. And which is obviously problematic for a lot of reasons. But one of the main things that is facing an issue here is that Matt's Landing Dike there, which used to be buffered by the low marsh. It's now sort of open to the swell from the direct line of sight from the opening of the bay up to the Maurice River. And so without that low marsh there, that dike has been put under a lot of pressure. So a number of years back, we began working as a project team to identify sort of issues that were happening here at the mouth of the Maurice and ways we could potentially fix some of them. And reestablishing low marsh here was one of the things we identified, as well as using breakwaters at a couple of focal points in the mouth of the Maurice, predominantly to reduce some of the wave energy that was coming into the region, into the mouth of the Maurice. And ideally, what we're hoping to do is calming the wave environment in the Northwest Reach, and then using some semi-permeable barriers to allow us to re-establish some of the marsh edge and build out from the east and the west sides of this section of now mud flat and reestablish some low moor. So for this project, the goal ideally long-term would be 400 acres, but for this project, we're looking at a 20-acre start with up to 40 acres of a secondary goal if we can make that come together. And let's go to the next slide. So as I said, we are looking at doing some subtidal breakwater structures. Right now, we'll be starting on the eastern side of the Northwest Reach and moving westward as far as we can get with the available funding. And right now, it's about 2,000 feet or 1,800 feet of breakwater that we'll be establishing out there. And then we'll be constructing semi-permeable barriers along the marsh edge to allow for passive accretion of sediment. So the idea is that we will create the conditions where as sediment comes in to the system, the breakwaters slow the velocity of that water a little bit. The semi-permeable barriers are there to capture some of the sediment that's dropping out of solution, and over time reestablishing a low marsh elevation, which we can take advantage of. We'll also be planting the marsh edge to jumpstart some of the revegetation process and monitoring for that. So we can go ahead. So this is just sort of, this is the conceptual idea of what we're trying to do. To reorient, this has been flipped over, right? So on the picture, we were looking towards the south. Now this is oriented towards the north. So Matt's Landing Dike in this image here is to the north, at the top of the photo. So the green line at the stretching across the opening of the mouth there is the series of breakwaters that we're going to extend out to help control some of the wave action in there and reduce some of that some of the real aggressive battering of the dike and the mud flat there and the marsh edges. And then in the red and the yellow are the semi-permeable barriers. The red demarcates sort of the first piece of what we're going to be trying to do, which is that 19.5 or 20 acres of marsh, reestablishing that. And the secondary to try to capture another 40 acres is the yellow lines. And that sort of just marks out where we'll be installing these semi-permeable barriers. Initially, we were considering coir logs, but we've also been looking at some other options. One of them is more of like a wattle fence scenario, possibly using bamboo. We're considering a few different methods and a few different options for what we could use in that area that'll hold up to some of there's still a high energy area. With the breakwaters installed, we're hoping to calm that a bit, but we want to make sure whatever we can put in there would be able to sustain itself long term. Coir logs may be the solution. Some other version of a wattle fence or a branch box or some version of that would be the solution for the deeper water. And over time, obviously, the grand plan over many years and a lot of investment here would be to reestablish marsh across that whole 400 acres. And ultimately, to reestablish high marsh, what would be really wonderful if we could get to that point in the long term, where we could get some threatened species, get some habitat back for them as well. The beauty of doing that, well, that's fine. We're fine with this switch, but the beauty of doing this is as we reestablish what the salt marshes along the edges of the eroded marsh, we're going to be able to start taking care of some of that carbon sequestration over time. And we're looking at some different methods on how to best quantify that, but we're excited on what we can do with carbon sequestration and then having that as the basis for future work elsewhere, depending on available funding. So So for monitoring, we're going to be looking at a lot of different components. We always look for horseshoe crabs when we're working in the Delaware Bay, just because we have the largest population of horseshoe crabs. And anytime we start putting structures into the bay, we want to make sure that we're not creating issues for horseshoe crab migrations or movements. And through some of the other work we've done, we haven't seen the breakwaters creating any sort of issue for horseshoe crabs, but it's something we do want to keep an eye on. We're going to be doing a lot of biodiversity stuff, looking at fish use, some of the stuff that attaches to the rocks, the oysters and mussels and so forth, wave attenuation. Of course, we'll be doing a lot of elevation and bathymetry with LiDAR, some drone elevation work. So we have a few. We have been doing some marsh work with along other places in the bays. First of all, in an area called Thompson's Marsh, Thompson's Beach Marsh, and we were using drone flights to kind of gauge the effectiveness of that, and we saw a whole lot of vegetative recruitment after a restoration. And so we're going to be continuing that with the ortho imagery and doing vegetation coverage to see how we make out with the reestablishment of marsh edges there. And I think So some sort of key updates here. This project is looking to kick off the in-water construction of breakwaters in August. Now, we began the very long process of getting to this point about 5 years ago or so, maybe 6 years ago. We went through a year and a half of planning and interfacing with the community and regulators to come up with some projects that we thought would be beneficial to the mouth of the Morris, that would create some benefits ecologically, protect the marsh, help it rebuild itself, and protect the communities that rely on the marsh behind it. So we've had the permits in place to do the breakwater work for a little while now. So we're going to be putting those then in August, and we're looking forward to getting started with that. The next piece for us would be to create the permits or get the permits for the marsh restoration. So we'll be putting together that plan and getting the permits in place as we go to move forward into the next phase of this project. But for now, contracts and materials are in place to begin the breakwater installation in August, and we're really excited to get started on that. And go to the next one, I guess. So some lessons learned. So again, ample planning and visioning is needed, right? So this whole project stemmed from a year and a half of interfacing with the community and the regulators, and we had coastal engineers involved, and we really kind of kicked around what would be a good balance of coastal protection and ecological uplift. And so to do that, you need to have a little bit of lead time, it's not the kind of thing you just kind of run into willy-nilly. And so having enough time to go ahead and plan for that is always the best course of action. I will say the cost estimates are super challenging these days. We costed this out initially several years ago, and costs have basically doubled since our first round of estimates, and they don't seem to be slowing down any. So the longer these projects take to implement, the less you're able to get done, which is unfortunate, right? So delays in timing or delays in contracting will all have these sort of trickle down effects of creating a ballooning budget, which is going to be hard to control. And so I would recommend that if, as you're building in what your plan is and what your budget is, make sure you have a little bit of wiggle room in your budget, and make sure that your project is got enough components to it that if need be, you can modify slightly and still get what you're hoping to get out of the project. And then lastly, I would say make sure you have a great team. We have been, our core project team has been working together since Hurricane Sandy. And we've been doing habitat restoration projects every year since then, sometimes several habitat restoration projects along the Delaware Bay each year. And, you get to a point where you're working with the same people, you develop a vision together, you develop some methods together, and you really work well. So, you're not always starting from scratch with trying to explain what you're trying to get out of this project and what the main goals are. Everybody's on the same page, and when you have a great team that works together well, you can have a really great project. That's the end of it.
Thank you so much, Shane. Next is Readington Township. Rob, I will hand it off to you for a brief introduction, and then we will go ahead and play the video.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Robert Becker. I'm chairman of our Environmental Commission. For those who don't know, Readington Township is on the eastern end of Hunterdon County. We're sandwiched between Route 78 on the north and Route 202 on the south between Somerville and Flemington. We are a sustainable Jersey community, silver level. We're 48 square miles, a population of 16,200 people. 40% of our land mass is preserved as farmland or open space. And what's led to our project is what do we do with all these unused old farm fields? Okay, video. That was a good overview to really reflect the attitude and the commitment of the community. Our partners on this project have been local foresters in our area who have been engaged in tree planting and other activities to lean on their experience on species, site preparation, and other factors. Particularly our Public Works Department, which has done a yeoman's job in terms of assisting in planting with their equipment, with their augers, can greatly improve the efficiency of getting some of the planting done. Our scientific partners are the Environmental Science School at Raritan Valley Community College. Their group provide both a labor source to do some initial pilot planting, but then they also took the leadership in setting up a planting species location on the property that's going to we're using. And finally, our volunteers. Again, a community that gets behind projects. For example, one of our local companies took the day off and planted over 800 trees. Our 8th grade middle school came in for half a day and did another 400 plus trees. It's this type of commitment that we look forward to. We've also had to experiment with some paid planting to supplement because we had trees in inventory we had to get into the ground. So we're learning by doing on this project. Next slide. I think some of the best practices, it's kind of hard technology, we dig a hole and put the plant in it, but one was to select the species with environmental change and temperature issues to try and predict what will be good growing species in the future. Kind of look to North Carolina and see what's coming north. So we've blended a whole 20 different species. And this is part of the test, is to check survivability. Again, the deer fence was absolutely mandatory. Otherwise, the deer herd in Readington would have gobbled up these plantings. We have the highest deer concentration in the state. So this protection was very important. And then the controlled burn that we felt was necessary to reduce the impact of invasives. We want to thank the DEP Forestry Department's controlling burning operation for this work. Next. So right now we've completed what we call phase 1, which is the first 4 acres where we've placed 3,100 trees, 29 different species. multiple sizes because we wanted again to confirm, do real small root bound trees uh, may take longer but may grow better as opposed to a 5-gallon or 2-gallon size. So we are and we're also going to model some other new planting strategies just to improve the science in this action area. And the other thing was getting our infrastructure in place. Since we're going to be at this location for quite a while, a couple of years, we wanted to make sure we had the equipment and facilities in place to support the project. Next. I think the lessons learned, time. Working with the nurseries and our providers, the more lead time that we can provide them, the better service they can provide us. It takes a while for a tree to go from a seed to a species or size that can be planted. And again, we're looking at different sizes. The other thing was we kind of didn't think about this, but you can see in the picture there's a big water tank that's serviced by our fire department, and a sprinkler head to prepare for the fact we may have some drought periods. And in the life cycle of a tree, we want to make sure the first year gets a good start. So these are fixed assets that will carry the project for the next 2 years. Next. So a little bit about monitoring. We'll be identifying some of the trees, and we'll be charting their growth rates. We'll be assessing the survival rates of the different species. This work will be performed by Raritan Valley Community College, and we'll also be engaging our public. We'll have work sessions scheduled for invasive removals, for possibly trees that'll need some support and other activities. So we see this as a community collaboration. And so far we've been very happy to where we are, and we're going to get ready for our fall planting. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Our last project presenter is from the New Jersey Conservation Foundation. Jay, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jen, and thank you for inviting me to speak about our project this morning. I really want to say thank you to the DEP for being forward-thinking in the RGGI system to allow for natural climate mitigation strategies and investments. So I'm really appreciative, and I think that these projects are demonstrating that this is a good strategy for us. I am Jay Watson from New Jersey Conservation Foundation. New Jersey Conservation Foundation has worked to protect New Jersey's land and environment for over 65 years. And over that period, working with our preservation partners, we've preserved over 140,000 acres across the state in just about every community. We also manage and steward a number of preserves for people, plants, and wildlife. And we have a policy team that makes sure that we influence good policy and legislation for our environment. So that's just an overview of who we are. And our project is called Throwing Shade, Greening the Capital City. And Jen, you can go to the next slide. Our project overview as presented in our application is to plant 1,000 shade trees in Trenton, sequester 3 million pounds of CO2, reduce stormwater by intercepting over 14 million gallons of rainwater, benefit 14 overburdened neighborhoods, specifically with low income and minority populations, and to promote tree equity across Trenton, but also across other cities throughout the state. But we also want to make sure that our project improves public perception of our capital city through these green investments. Next slide, Jen. So the thing that I'm really proud of in terms of how we pulled our project together was the assemblage of some incredible partners in the landscape, partners that I've known throughout my career pretty much that have been doing this exact work. That are dedicated and committed to this work. So Our partnership includes, of course, the DEP and the city of Trenton, but also we engage the New Jersey Tree Foundation, who plant trees up and down the state. They're a nonprofit, the Watershed Institute here in Pennington, Isles Incorporated through their Climate Corps, and all the work that they've been doing throughout the years in Trenton. The Outdoor Equity Alliance is a relatively newly formed organization that is focused on engaging communities of color and to diversify the makeup of the conservation movement. Equity by Design is our consultant, a young man named Elijah Dixon, who lives in the neighborhoods that we're planting, or in one of the neighborhoods, and is just connected with every community group, and the Cadwallader Park Alliance and Trees for Trenton. So I'm really proud of this this coalition that we've built. They're just high functioning organizations that are known in the community. And I feel like we're kind of a well-oiled machine at this point after being together for 2 years. Next slide. So our methods and practices, we're engaging the community around the work that we're doing. We keep saying we're not going to put a single tree in front of anyone's house. We're not going to dig a hole in front of anyone's home until we've had a conversation with that owner. It's just critically important. And I'll talk a little bit more about our community engagement as we go along. We're planting 2 to 2.5 to 3 inch caliper shade trees. So they're starting off at 10 to 14 feet tall. We want to have some heft on those trees, especially when we're putting them in on the streets of Trenton, to get the shade, get a quick jump start on getting shade projects working in the city as well. And water care and establishment, I'll talk about that a little bit. It's been challenging. Our success in getting trees in the ground has appeared to exceed our ability to move water around the city, which is a bit complicated, and it's the most important thing because we're not here to just get trees in the ground. We're here to get them established and to survive and to benefit the community. So we're developing strategies right now to make sure that we're able to move water around through various sources to get these trees watered in this incredibly changing climate conditions we have. And then to monitor and continue engagement throughout. Go ahead, Jen, you can go to the next slide. So monitoring approach, we've created a GIS Esri-based system that enables us to put in every single tree we've planted into the system. So any of the partners can go around and just check on the condition of that tree and put that data into the system so that we know whether it needs water or if there's been any vandalism or any of those things that are associated with our plantings. It's incredible. We think that it can be replicated in other areas, and we're continuing to develop that. And we're regularly monitoring and photographing and collecting data on the conditions of all of the trees that we're planting. These are significant investments. They're costing $300 to $500 per tree to get in the ground because of the size we're putting them in. And we have to cut concrete and all those things that are associated with urban tree plantings. But we feel like we're showing some real progress. Go ahead, Jen. So of our 1,000 trees, we've already planted over half of them. We're at 576 trees in the ground in Trenton. Leaves us about 424 trees to plant over the next 3 seasons. We'll be planting this fall, and hopefully we'll be finished in the spring. But if not, we have the fall planting season as well in 2026. Of the trees that we planted so far, 323 of them are street trees, largely in the downtown area, and 253 in parks. Go ahead, Jen. So we've learned some lessons. I mean, the value and importance of community engagement is critical. Obviously, we want people to understand why we're doing these projects and how they're going to benefit the individual homeowners and the residents in those communities. Certainly the value of assembling a high quality functioning team, a team that is respected, kind of recognized, and are doing authentic work. People in the community can tell when you're authentic or if you're just going about the motions of doing work because you have a grant. And what we're doing is authentic, and all our partners bring that to the conversation. We know that we have to deal with historic community aversion to projects like this. People have, horror stories about large trees heaving their sidewalks or roots getting into their pipes and them having to deal with it. And our tree ambassadors are trained to tell them that those were largely the wrong trees in the wrong place, and that we're planting specific trees for these conditions, and that it's going to take a long time for these 2.5-inch trees to get to the point where it's going to cause you any problem. That's where we are there. And then the importance of follow and monitoring and water. We do worry a little bit now just because we've been having these 95-degree days and threats of thunderstorms and lots of rain, and then they tend to blow over, so we're not getting as much water, but we're getting the heat. So we're developing strategies right now to make sure that we can move water around in the city. Next slide. So we do have, some issues that we're dealing with as well as we're doing the community engagement around the city. We've seen some vandalism where people are girdling trees and breaking off low-hanging branches, and we've even had cars drive up on sidewalks by accident or intentional. We don't know, but we know that we have to deal with these things, keep the conversations going on in the communities about the values, and just keep moving. Next slide, please. So again, just to talk about our tree ambassadors, most of the conversations are happening by the Outdoor Equity Alliance tree ambassadors. Our consultant, Equity by Design, and New Jersey Tree Foundation has community input with every project that they do. Next slide. I just want to show you how we're kind of mapping this out. We do have landscape architects on the BRS team, Brownfield Redevelopment Solutions, who are the city's consultant for everything green, and we brought them on for this project. Just to orient you, up in the left-hand corner is Cadwalder Park, Frederick Law Olmsted Design Park in the city of Trenton. Is Crown Jewel, and we're doing a lot of work in that park. But I'm going to focus on the red box right now. The DEP logo is where the DEP building is on East State Street, just to orient you. And the Battle Monument is where the star is. So we could just go to the next slide. We're going to zoom in on that box. And so just to show you that we're keeping track of everything we're putting in the ground, by year planted, by who it's planted by. We have Isles planting trees, New Jersey Tree Foundation planting trees, and we have private contractors planting trees, and we're keeping track of all of that. And so we have all the trees kind of categorized in these maps. You can go to the next slide. This is the same thing. This is a box near that's on West State Street, our West State Street planting. That's the Calhoun Street Bridge at the bottom of the picture, and it goes all the way to Hermitage Avenue. You can zoom in again. I mean, you could, I'm sorry, you go to the next slide. And then again, once again, you can see the details of what we planted in each one of those stretches along West State Street. And there's more to come for sure. And so next slide. And so I just wanted to show you some images, and we can go through these pretty quickly, of our planting projects and the days out planting and the immediate transformation of the streets that we're planting on, even with these 12 to 14 foot tall trees, the impact that they have in these neighborhoods already. So you can go to the next slide. This is West State Street. This is Academy Street downtown. Next slide. This is along North Broad Street near the Battle Monument, new trees, just transforming those streets. Next slide. North Montgomery Street in the downtown, just a beautiful alley of sycamore trees we planted there. Next street, next slide, please. This is Hanover Street in the downtown. Again, just immediate transformation of those trees, and even these small trees are throwing a little bit of shade. So next slide. This is Front Street. The slide on the right is as you're kind of looking right into the old Barracks Museum. We planted a beautiful tree. Hopefully they'll be established somewhat for the 250th celebrations that'll be coming up next year. Next slide. And so what I wanted to really point out to end my piece is just that we recognize that this is all about carbon capture and sequestration, but the ancillary benefits to me are just incredible. When I drive around the city of Trenton on a day like today, this is what I see: people huddled under small shade pools wherever they can get it. And our job is to make sure that we're planting a lot of these opportunities and making sure that the people that are seeking that relief, that are under these trees, recognize the inputs that are necessary and the stewardship that's required in order to provide that relief for them on these hot days. So I think that rounds it out. And I don't know if you get a chance to run the video.
Thank you, Jay. And thank you to all our presenters for walking us through these amazing projects. The work you are doing to create carbon sinks is crucial to achieving our climate goals in New Jersey, and the co-benefits are equally as important. Now we will open the floor for questions from the audience, and I'm going to ask my team to help me with some of these questions. Haley, do we have any questions?
Yes, so far we have one question from Tom. This is directed towards Shane. He would like to know, did you consider a low crested sill instead of segmented breakwaters?
Yeah, we have, but what we're trying to do is in slightly deeper water than a sill would be useful too. Because I could turn on my camera for you. But yeah, a sill is something that we have tried out on the other side of Basket Flats, on the other side of the river at Basket Flats, and it's yeah, we have thought about it, but we need to go with something a little bit more robust, given the energy.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Shane. All right. It looks like that was the primary question. Are there any other questions from the audience at this time? And you can always submit them either to us at njclimate@dep.gov, or you can email our participants directly. We've provided their email contact information in the chat. If there are no other questions, then I will hand it back to our Bureau Chief, Anthony Bavacqua.
Thanks, Jen. And if you could hit the next slide, please. I believe there's, yeah, great. So to further illustrate the nature of projects funded under this grant program, we have developed an interactive mapping application. Could you hit play, please? Thanks. Available on our website, which describes in detail the 14 individual projects, including video interviews. We invite the audience to explore this resource to learn more. Thanks.
Thanks, Anthony.
We don't need to let it play all the way. That's, yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay. DEP offers approximately 30 grants to address environmental needs in communities, and you can find information for all the grants by using this QR code for our grants and loans website. The department has staff dedicated to providing resources for financial investment opportunities that improve the environment, foster resilient economic growth, and improve the quality of life in New Jersey communities. These range from open space preservation to community forestry to drinking water and radon awareness. You can find out more by going to this webpage if you are eligible to apply for any of these grants. DEP also has fact sheets where you can learn about how other communities have leveraged funding from the department and other agencies to help solve problems and take advantage of opportunities. The best way to receive announcements for our DEP grants and loans is by visiting this page and sharing your email address in the Stay Connected box. And then we also have our own for the NCS program, a listserv that you can subscribe to, and we will put that information in the chat as well. And also you can find the story map and contact information on that website as well. Back to you, Anthony.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, great. So in conclusion, one more thing, pretty happy to announce. We're excited to announce the launch of the second funding round of the NCS program to happen later this month. On July 29th, we will host an official kickoff public webinar where we will provide an overview of program goals, priorities, and updates, eligibility for applicants and project types, application requirements and timelines, what to expect for selected grantees, and a Q&A session with DEP staff. This will be followed by an application deep dive public webinar, which will focus on the grant application process and procedure, review of new guidance materials, application support tools, and an updated grant management system. We are always looking to improve our programs and procedures, particularly when we are engaged with external partners and communities. In the development of the second funding round, we have made program changes based on grantee feedback and internal lessons learned to improve timelines and outcomes, the evaluation approach to better support partnerships and reduce administrative burdens and barriers, and finally, develop comprehensive guidance and material support. We look forward to sharing the NCS program improvements during the upcoming webinars and pending press releases and website updates. With that, I would like to give a huge thank you to all our speakers today for joining us to discuss their projects. Without their dedication and the dedication of all our grantees and partners, this work would not be possible. And of course, thank you to the audience for tuning in today. Please stay tuned for more information on the future of our program. Thank you.